For one final time in 2024 Season 3, it's Monday night IndyCar action here live on RaceSpotTV. And it's been more than 7+ years since the IndyCar's last graced the real track at Milwaukee, and of course heading off to the Milwaukee Mile this weekend is the NTT IndyCar Series. Delighted that we close out our season with what should be a fun race. Hi folks, welcome along once again. Our Junior Kanky Party on hand, ready to walk you through all of the racing action, and boy, what a race that we've got in store for you as well. We made our way to America's legendary oval, opened of course back in 1899, 124 years ago is when they broke ground. The very first race though only taking place in 1903, 120 years of history at this wonderful track. Here's a look at the schedule of course. After a couple of busy weeks for the drivers across of so many different things, iRacing Butt Kicker IndyCar Qualifying Series competition, and of course the VCO IndyCar Challenge. Now it's going to be a couple of weeks of respite before they kick back into action once again. As it looks though in terms of the championship fight, well, at the top and maybe not unexpected to see Phil Krause with a somewhat comfortable margin over Adam Blocker going into the season finale. Still some close fights behind. Look at the squabble for third position with Kevin Burrell, Rashad Craig and Sam Carasala, the trio of Indy Alliance racing drivers, and then even back to Brandon Roseborough and Alan Berteau. Just 4 points split them. Plenty of fights to be keeping our eye on as we head off into this final race. 120 laps on deck for the drivers. Qualifying on showcase right now as the only 14 Dallara IR18s in this top split try and make their way to the front of the qualifying standings. Now, qualifying important, yes, but we know at a track like this, attrition can play its part. And from up above, if I can quickly break out my yellow pen tool, hit that button, bish bash bosh, that is the pit entry. You've got to come off of turn 4 and blend in as cleanly as you can. Love breaking out the telestrator tool when we can grab it available. But right as the qualifying session comes to a close, we are in for an interesting race, that is for sure. A handful of drivers electing not to set qualifying times. What does that mean for what we've got in store? For the final time this season then, let's go trackside. Let's take a look at the starting grid. And the defending champion and maybe champion-elect Phil Krause is alongside of his private label Team Hype with Powerslide Motorsports teammate Robert Malechka, just 45 thousandths splitting them. Then a full 4/10 back to Nick Sudik and Alan Berteau. Olivia Hayward lines up in the All-American iRacers with Prismatic Motorsport number 12 alongside the Madworks Motorsports entry of Matt Taylor. 7th away of Carlos Ruiz with Joseph Manning rolling to his right-hand side. And then Facundo Arduzo, the final driver with a time on the board, has got Jason Brophy looking to try and charge his way through the field. Seb Alexander and Rashad Craig and the pair of Indy Alliance racing cars will try and do the same. And a relatively new name on a Monday night. Great to see Nathan Moore in the World Sim Racing Esports Butt Kicker car at the back of the grid alongside David Henger. Now only 14 cars, yes, but maybe that's going to mean a little less of a chaotic race up and down through the field. Maybe expecting attrition to be less of a factor than maybe it would have been if we had a field full of 28 Dallara IR18s. That is for sure. But big margin at the front in qualifying. I think we now kind of have the expectation it's going to be the Phil Krause and Rob Malechka show up front in these warm track conditions. It's 42 degrees Celsius on the track itself and 17 km/h gusts of wind to be keeping an eye on as well. That's going to be quite interesting how the tire strategy is all going to play on out. Expecting the pit window for this 120 lap race to be right around 50 or so laps. Might see some drivers go longer, some drivers choose to go shorter. But it is a racetrack that, again, much like any short oval, pitting will put you down off of the lead lap. And so, as Townsend Bell will say, throw yourself into the danger zone. That's a wonderful sight. All 14 of our Dallara IR18s stacked up and ready to go. Now, because this is a quote-unquote short oval, I believe we will get a couple of pace laps behind our pace car driver. And then, of course, not unexpected, I would say, if we do see Benny, the pace car driver, out a little bit more often than some would expect. That's even with just the 14 cars, let's not forget. Should be, I think, a race of two stories in some ways. If Jason Brophy can try and charge his way up into the top 3, might it be a bit of a fight between teammates, at least for podium positions. And then behind them, could be some fun to be had. Well, last week you had Joey Tebben at upstate New York. I, unfortunately, was on a plane. I've just got off a plane. I got back home about 30 minutes ago, but I am so excited to be here for the season finale. Once again on a Monday night, we'll throw the Indy cars out. Only the one pace car. Let's turn up the roar of the engines at America's legendary oval. Good start from Kraus and Malechka as they instantly single file themselves out. Oh, what's happened to Jason Brophy, though? He's going to look down low, and I think he might even be trying to come down to pit lane. I can't see any damage on the car, if I'm being completely honest, though. Just a very, very tentative start from the private label team hype driver in the number 3 machine. Meanwhile, behind the top 2 as they try and stretch their lead. Clean air going to be vital. Already seeing Nick Sudik on the defense from Alan Berteau. And they're all gone up high. Seems as though the high line where they all want to be. First bit of side-by-side is Seb Alexander trying to poke a nose to the inside of Facundo Arduzo. Your race leader already 1.6 seconds clear. He's really starting to turn the afterburners to maximum. This might mean that lap traffic going to be a story sooner rather than later. Seb Alexander tries a slide job on Arduzo. Matt Taylor's trying to make the move as well on Alan Berteau. We've got a little bit of action up and down through the field. All as you can see on that track map, Phil Kraus already diving off into turn number 3. It's rather interesting just to note the line that is being run from the field as it sits right now. Have all elected that the high line, look how much space they've left down low to not use whatsoever. It's a relatively flat track if we are also being honest, and so, you know, the 9 degrees of banking is that maybe what they're trying to maximize their usage of. I did see that there was an iRacing IndyCar Fixed Series race a couple of weeks ago where very similar things were going on. Is this the new meta at this track? So as Rashad Craig passes Joseph Manning around the outside, that's a great pass, and now make it +5 in the opening 6 laps of this race. Jason Brophy is starting to get the act together somewhat. Now up the inside of Nathan Moore and slices forward to 11th. Your race leader, by the way. Once again, pop up the track map. Phil Kraus might as well be in another county right now. Maybe even another state. Such is the lead, such is the dominance that right now is being established. 4 seconds inside of 8 laps. And really right now, I wonder if we're just starting to see some of these drivers further back settle into the rhythm and say, you know what? Figure out what this race is going to have in store for us. So behind this all, Jason Brophy up high. Squeezes around the outside of Carlos Ruiz. Now up into 10th position. Still with some work to do, though, after failing to set a qualifying lap time. Matt Taylor's gone on the charge. And a big slide job to pass Nick Sudik there. I wonder if that is also kind of set off by the fact that Rob Malechka now has a 2.5 second lead over these drivers. This is crazy, though. We're just 10 laps in, and already Phil Kraus is 7 seconds away from the first driver off the podium spot. Rob Malechka has a comfortable margin as well with which to work at this time. And in a small field, let's not forget, just the 14 cars. That very much, I think, influences how these drivers are approaching these early stages, expecting maybe, like was mentioned, less attrition to play its part, and instead having to fight your way on forward on sheer merit, much like Jason Brophy just making the pass on Seb Alexander. The last time they went racing here at the Milwaukee Mile in the real world was back in 2015. Now, it's been a long time, yes, but I think we're all looking forward to this weekend when we don't just get one, but we get two 250-mile races. The pair of Hy-Vee Milwaukee Mile 250s will take place on August 31st and September 1st. Should be plenty of fun to see how the cars run out there in the real world. Don't tell me we'll be 3 wide in the virtual world. Alexander backs out of it, thinks the wiser. Brophy trying to make the low line work, can't wash up the track and pass Manning. And now tucks back into line. Even with a very strong car, you assume that Jason Brophy's got a similar package to what his teammates running 1 and 2 have. Took him a second chance to try and make that happen. Bit of a jockey there from Joseph Manning down low. And now is he going to open the door? Ooh, Seb Alexander. One way, then the other. Outside becomes inside. And as Jason Brophy watches in the rearview mirrors, slide job from the Indy Lights racing car slides him to 9th. So Brophy now 1.8 seconds to close to Rashad Craig. Again, up 5 positions so far today in that Indy Alliance Racing entry. So the last time IndyCar raced at Milwaukee, the winner was Sebastian Bourdais. I'm going to go back and look at the results if I can. Wikipedia apparently doesn't have the answer for me, so that's not ideal. Trying to figure out who in the current field was racing back then. Of course, it would be Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, Will Power. Those names are a given. But Graham Rahal was there. And then I'm just looking down through the rest of the list, and I'm struggling to find too many others. Did Connor Daly race at Milwaukee? No, I don't think he did, actually. Last race for him that season was Toronto. Yeah. I mean, Jack Hawksworth technically raced that. Of course, now racing in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in a Lexus. Takuma Sato was there. Bourdais, the winner. Pagenaud obviously was there as well. TK, Marco Andretti, Elio, and even Juan Pablo Montoya, who finished that race back in 4th. I say back in 4th. That makes it sound like that's a poor finish. Let's be honest, I'd bite your hand off if you gave me a 4th in any NTT IndyCar Series race. Oh, off the wall there for Alain Berteau. That was close. And once again, you see that right rear tire really being worked hard here. Trying to really bite into the surface of the track and propel you off the corner. I will say, race lead is starting to come down as your leader is starting to navigate through some traffic. Pop that up on the bottom of your screen. Last 3-lap comparison. At the line, Malechka this time. Another 14 thousandths of a second shaved off. It's down to 4 seconds now. Of course, Malechka is going to have to pass the same traffic that Kraus has lost some time behind, so expect it to swing back around. But this lap seems like it's even more of a swing. Facundo Arduso, who now gets passed into turn 1 by your race leader. What's that delta going to be? 0.3 of a second. So keep an eye on that. Might we see a battle between the teammates up front? Back with the fight with those trying to charge through the field. Of course, both Jason Brophy and Rashad Craig, lack of a qualifying time for them. What's that going to mean? Talking about fuel window, by the way, I'd said it might be around 50 or so laps. I think it might be closer to 60 based on some of the information being sent over. Shout out to Jeff Drake. Which does mean that this is very much capable of being a one-stop race if, operative word, if we go green. Now, watch the hands of Jason Brophy. Olivier Hayward runs at the front of this train. Alan Berteau, he's going to get past here surely. No, Craig doesn't get a great run off the corner. You can see that Brophy's the only driver right now trying to go down low, trying to do something different. And Hayward in the fight for P10 in the championship, let's not forget. It's a 4,000 strength of field grid here today. Top 5 finish would go a long way in that championship equation. Look at the speed through the entry into the corner. Nick Sudik's got a bit of a gap back to these drivers. 4, but maybe to be 5 if Seb Alexander continues to close. There you can see Jason Brophy washes up the track and almost into the left rear of Craig. It's yellow and green versus black and green. And once again the slide job. Look at the exit off of turn 4 for Brophy. For a second it looked like it hooked up really well. And then it didn't. Now, I unfortunately didn't get the chance to watch any of this past weekend's racing, including IndyCar at Portland, so no spoilers in chat for me just yet. But I did see the headline, NASCAR Truck Series driver Lane Riggs dislocates shoulder celebrating win. Now that, of course, the first round of the Truck Series playoff at Milwaukee. What a story. Earn your very first NASCAR win and then dislocate your shoulder, fist pumping yourself with such elation, exuberation, jubilation. Don't even know what the right word would be. Apparently he's like dislocated that shoulder 9 or 10 times as well, so knows how to pop it back in. Can Brophy pop it into 7th? Yes, he does. What a move it was. Not much that Craig could really do. And so next target for Brophy, going to be the number 9. He is really working that low line. Your race lead, by the way, stretches back up to 4.6 seconds as Malechka now the one dealing with the traffic. A give and take of this sort of racing. Now, this track is not one of the 4 ovals that will be competed in the IndyCar Butt Kicker Pro Series. The 4 ovals: Iowa, Indianapolis, Worldwide Technology Raceway, and the Nashville Super Speedway. So still have a couple of the short tracks thrown in there, but not this one. Not the one with the most history of racing in the US, but realistically the one that I think many of the drivers in the real world are looking forward to having back in their schedules, hopefully consistently moving forward. A couple of attempts from Brophy so far. Nothing's really worked just yet. We're about halfway through the fuel window, though, so I assume if we do get a caution, we'll probably see everyone down into pit lane. So now, just thinking back to how Brophy made the move on Richard Craig, there was an element of surprise there, I think, as well. So this camera angle, Brophy's gone missing. Now he reappears. The danger with that camera angle is what happens if Brophy never reappears. There's one of two things. The pass has been made or contact's about to happen. Berteau scrapes the wall. Brophy will take advantage. It's the end of lap 36 for these drivers. And Jason Brophy is now driven forward into 6th position. Although only momentarily around the outside, Alan Berteau, he's making life very, very difficult right now. Olivia Hayward's feeding a slipstream, a slim amount of it to be fair, but maybe enough for Berteau to hold on. Brophy's going to try. Runs out of room to make the slide job work. Rashad Craig, very, very courteous there to not go down low and try and force the offense on the private label Team Hype driver. But surely frustration building as, whoa! Spinner, it's David Henger. And no damage, but the caution that maybe influences the strategy has just come out. Take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay machine. It will give us a bit more of an insight into exactly what unfolded here on the run-in towards turn 3. Now wondering if there's an element of the wind that plays up. Oh, that car's already trying to shuffle its way around the track. Locks it down just in the nick of time. And, well, ooh, that's where the caution flew. The car ultimately stepping out on David Henger. One more look. Watch the hands here. Car goes neutral, onto the brakes, the Malone shuffle as some would call it. Oh. And what actually spins the car is the act of going from neutral into first. Bit of a kick to the rear there. So a couple of cars will get a lap back, you'd assume. Rest of the field in pit lane. So 4 Firestone tires, tank of fuel, and who wins the race off and away? It's Kraus, followed by Malechka. No surprises there. But Matt Taylor gets a launch. He jumps Nick Sudik. Olivia Hayward then in front of Alan Berteau. Jason Brophy, Craig, Alexander. No change amongst them. Bit of a battle between Manning and Moore to win that race off of pit lane as well. But there's the change. AJ Musselman jumps into the chat to say, feels Brophy's frustration. I think we can all sympathize with it, but that's what happens when you don't set a qualifying lap time at the end of the day. Have to fight your way back through the field. So Henger's going to get a lap back, but he was technically 2 laps down, so he will stay 1 lap down. Carlos Ruiz and Facundo Oduso will take themselves on the wave around, it seems, and cycle back to the tail end of the lead lap. So this does mean, though, 42 laps complete. Rough estimates would see pit stops then right around lap 105 or so. Is anyone going to try and save some fuel? I'm not sure. I would potentially think about it, but 12 laps of fuel, as many as that, seems like a lot. Even with the assistance of those fuel maps, which of course, in a caution period like this, you'll bump it up to map 8, or bump it down, I guess. Save a bit more fuel. Facundo Oduso, by the way, is out on pit lane, so he is not getting a lap back. He's decided it's not worth the risk, given that they're due down to pit lane in the next 20. They do say cautions breed cautions. Maybe not what was on the mind there. So caution flies for the first time today. Solo car spin. And no one retires. Let's turn the sound of the engines up once again, shall we? Ready to go racing at America's legendary oval. 120 years of history. 7 odd years since the last time that we saw IndyCars racing here. But we're ready for a doubleheader of the NTT IndyCar Series this weekend. Phil Krause up front gets ready to punch the throttle. Good jump from your leader, Joseph Manning. Got to the inside of Seb Alexander. Olivia Hayward's being challenged by Alain Berteau around the outside. A couple of different things to keep an eye on as we cycle back to the line. Berteau's made the move to 5th. Brophy will try and take advantage and now slice his way forward to 6th position. Back down through turn number 1, 9 degrees of banking. And once again, only Jason Brophy looking to go low. Here comes Rashad Craig. Hayward decided not to try and make a move. Instead, Craig's going to try and go aggressive. But Hayward's All-American iRacers with Prismatic Motorsports number 12 is there and will hold on to 7th spot. Another slide job incoming. Can Craig clear? Yes, he can. Nice and tidy stuff between the two. Very interesting as well. They've all gone up high for this race. Clearly there is something with how the surface of the track is working. Now, these drivers think this is the ideal situation. Already though, Phil Krause re-establishes his margin up front. Look at the clean air behind him. 2.7 seconds back to Rob Malechka at the line. Only driver popping out of the line, Seb Alexander. Is Indy Alliance Racing number 5. Can't quite clear Hayward. And now watch for the momentum being lost. Can Joseph Manning try and get to his inside? Remember, Nathan Moore's there as well in the World Sim Racing with butt kicker entry. So first caution cycle out of the way. Couple of green flag laps under our belt now as well. I think these drivers will be settling back into that rhythm. And now we start to think about when does traffic become a reality for the race leaders once again. Last time by, Phil Krause did a 24.070. Now what in the world is up with that? 1.2 seconds. What's it going to be this time? 23.4. He's saving fuel. We've got a race on our hands now. Christian Steele jumps in to say, go, 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 go. Not sure. It's another 23 from Krause. Let's keep an eye on the car. That's not looking okay, is it? Is there damage? Side pod looks okay. I can't quite see the right side pod to be clear. The left side is all right. This is fascinating right now. Trying to queue up a replay to see if we can figure out if there was something in particular that slowed Krause down on that lap where we saw him lose a whole bunch of time. And indeed, it seems as though he might have had a bit more of a moment than what we were watching on board with him with. Let's queue up a replay. As ever, replay machine misses nothing. And listen. Oh, he hits the wall. So from this angle from the top of the spotter stand, I mean, right front of the wing instantly shows a bit of damage. Side pod looks okay. Now, uncharacteristic mistake for Phil Krause. Ooh, we've got a broken rear wing and no caution just yet for Facundo Arduzo. He'll rejoin the track down low. And now with a very broken race car, caution flies once more. Two single car incidents so far. That brought out the caution. Here's another look at what happened to the 13. Unlucky 13, it would appear. Right side's into the wall. Right rear into the wall as well. I guess the left side of the car is okay. Slow it down once again. And back down to pit lane, surely, given that from here, it's a guaranteed no-stopper, I assume. Indeed. Field's going to come in unison. Now, who wins this race off and away? Because this could be important for track position. And as AJ Musselman just points out, does Phil Krause have a front wing change to serve here? Well, Rob Malechka's a very short pit stop. That was fuel only. Phil Krause didn't need a front wing change, it turns out, but he still emerged in 5th position. Joseph Manning, once again, a drag race with Nathan Moore to pit exit. Left side of the screen. Let's pop up the pit stop times. 3.5. Anything less than about 7 seconds is a guaranteed no tire pit stop. But that is tire wear, I've been told, is not necessarily the highest around this track. Is that something that's crept into the drivers' minds? Our Duso might be our first DNF of the day. David Henger is going to get the lap back and cycle around to the tail end of the lead lap, but he is yet to come down pit lane. And so basically as soon as we restart, expect to see him in. Although, again, cautions breed cautions. Could end up being a very, very different situation. So the number 1 machine is going to lead us back to green. First time that we've had a new race leader that is not named Phil Krause. Turns out it was all a calculated strategy from Phil Krause to slide back in line, be the first driver to have tires, and we'll find out how important they are. So Henger's going to get his lap back. Rest of the field gets the 1 to go signal. And we're going to restart with exactly 60 laps complete in this race. So it'll be 60 done, 60 to go. Got to mix up on strategies now, that is for sure. Front 4, fuel only. Those behind think tires are the way to go. Let's turn up the engines once again, ready to rumble. It's Malechka at the front of the Milwaukee Mile. Taylor, Brito, and Brophy stacked up behind. Krause trying to look to get to the inside already. And he's going to try and jump his teammate into turn number 1. Can he make the slide job stick? Yes, he does. Not quite, though. Going to be allowed to get alongside of Alan Brito. Instead, Jason Brophy returns the favor. It's slide job city on the restart. And Krause makes the position his own. Although, just for a corner. Oh, I'd love to hear what's going on the radio right now between these two teammates. You give me the position. No, you give me the position. And I'm guessing Rob Malechka sitting there going, heh, 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 heh. Chuckling away with the inner 5-year-old with a big smile. Now this is where Jason Brophy's frustrations will be resumed as he tries to attack the impenetrable so far Alan Brito. It's the fight for the 3rd and final spot on the podium. The yellow and black machine has got to the inside. Phil Krause is going to try and squeeze Berteau as well. This is where I think they're also trying to work Berteau away from the high line. There's the dive from Krause that might just let Brophy get clear. It's not the traditional type of teamwork, but hey, it works. Brophy officially clear. Krause not quite. Oh, rule number 1 of racing, don't hit your teammate. Last 5 laps, a little bit more close for comfort than I think any would have wanted. And your race leader, by the way, not being allowed to break away in the same way that Phil Krause did in the early stages. Matt Taylor's MadWorks Motorsports number 7 sits menacingly in the wake of your race leader. A 2-time iRacing Indy 500 champion in 2024. And you ask, how did he do it twice? Well, he did it on the same weekend. He won the iRacing Fixed 500 and the iRacing Open Indy 500. An achievement that will probably never be matched, mainly because we expect that from next year on forward, we will have both the Fixed 500 and the Open 500 on different weekends, at least hopefully. Sudik sends some sparks flying as he tries to do something off the wall. Not quite sure that worked as intended. So confirmation for Facundo Arduzo, the sole DNF so far today. At some point we'll see David Henger into pit lane. It's been 70 or so laps for him without coming down to the box so far. But as we reach the nicest lap in all of motorsports, it is still a 1.3 second advantage that your race leader is enjoying. His teammates behind have started to close the margin back down to second. 50 laps to go next time by. That means if we go green, less than 19 minutes of racing. It's crazy when you say it like that. 50 laps of racing at the Nordschleife, that's a couple of hours that you'd be sitting there. A couple of fights as well brewing, not just this fight for second, third, and fourth, where now Krause and Brophy going wheel to wheel. But Nick Sudik, of course, still trying to make something happen on the back of Alain Berteau. David Henger, now 3 seconds off the back of Carlos Ruiz, would have been the first bit of traffic that your race leader would be thinking about, but you can see race leader out of turn 2, just as the lapped cars they will be thinking about coming across the start-finish line. So Matt Taylor really starting to feel that pressure from behind. Have not seen tires, though, be as valuable as maybe some would have thought. Maybe Krause is just biding his time right now, waiting for the fall-off to reach. Nick Sudik might just finally have cracked the clue that, cracked the puzzle that is Alain Berteau. Not sure what the clue was. Dig that one up, that's for sure. Now, jump back up front for a sec. Your race lead is under a second once again. Race leader ends lap 74. 9/10 the margin at the line. It's going to be interesting as well. September the 19th, the start of the IndyCar Butt Kicker Pro Series here on iRacing.com. Phil Krause, Jason Brophy, Rob Malechka. They may very well be some of the representatives of the IndyCar community in the field of 33 that will go racing. We'll all just come down to the next race on Thursday, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Eduardo Leo also has a bit of an uphill climb to try and make his way into the field. Now Matt Taylor spins in front of Jason Brophy. Phil Krause able to squeak his way on through. But Brophy pinched with nowhere to go, and the caution flies once more. Well, does this change everything? Here's a look at what happened. So no contact. Taylor's grazed the wall already once. Brophy's lost a front wing. I'm suspecting his damage might actually be a little bit more significant than that as well. I mean, Kraus got quite lucky if we're being honest. Right place, right time as compared to his teammate. Did lock it down as soon as he could. At that point, too little, too late. And that left front for Taylor showing some very, very interesting alignment. Seemingly can still turn left though, so that's a good thing. So Berteau, Taylor, Ruiz, Manning, Moore, and Henger pit. David Henger, by the way, managing to wait till lap 78 before he came down pit lane, so he will stay on the lead lap as well. Has someone told Jason Brophy he's missing part of his front wing? Sir? Suspect he might be in this time by, not assuming that he's going to want to risk this for however many laps. And indeed, he'll shuffle off to the left and roll his way down into pit lane. Right. Back over then to two teammates that were running 1 and 2 for the first, 60 laps of this race? And then they swapped around. Malechka still, of course, has done a bit more on his tires, but should not necessarily be an issue, I feel. Nick Sudik might be thinking this is his time to pounce as well. Rashad Craig again, he's another driver that didn't set a qualifying time. What's he thinking now that he's up inside of the top 5? Remember, fighting for 3rd in the championship as well. Are we going to see the lights off on the pace car this time by? Yes, I think. Restart with 40 to go. That's 20 laps between restarts there. Could we have another couple of cautions, I guess? This is estimated around 15 minutes of racing on my timing screen right now, if you're curious. Still a pretty short sprint to the end. All right. Let's send the pace car off and away once more, and let's hope it's for the final time. Malechka, Kraus, Sudik, Craig, and then Alexander. It's a bit of a hold, and Malechka leaves his teammate hanging. Nick Sudik can't pounce, but it's a 4/10 advantage for your race leader off of turn 2. Side by side for Brophy and Henger. So Jason Brophy's going to try and carve his way back through the field with just 40 laps left to run. I mean, these look like jet fighters. They sound like jet fighters. They are some of the coolest cars in all of motorsport. Down to 4th gear for Seb Alexander. Using all the track on offer. Brophy, by the way, is already up into 9th position. Dispatched of 3 so far. make that 4 as he passes Nathan Moore as well with seeming ease. Almost like Moore was standing still there. Is there going to be a pass between some of these drivers? Now, Nick Sudik's lost a second or so to your race leaders. Just wants to try and stay within draft. That's what Phil Krause is thinking right now. In third gear for Krause, quite interestingly. Maybe thinking that from his perspective, in the dirty air, needing to try and get a bit more drive off the corner. It's the easiest way to do it. Brophy up to the back of Alan Berteau now. There is a very real chance that Brophy gets up to the podium spots by the end of this race. To do that, though, he has to figure out a driver that frustrated him quite a lot in the early stages. And it's been a couple of laps just sitting here and waiting right now. I don't think that's exactly what Brophy was hoping for. Ooh, a little bit of a kiss of the curb. But Brophy does still get a decent drive off the corner, all things considered. Not quite clear. Might be able to do it this time by. Olivia Hayward just feeds a little bit more draft, though, to Berteau. More speed on the outside combined with that hole in the air. It's working nicely. But as they close to the back of the All-American iRacers with Prismatic Motorsport number 12, more dirty air for them both to deal with. Speaking of dirty air, Rashad Craig in the dirty air of Nick Sudik, who's right up to the wall right now. Ooh, I did think that Craig was pushing a bit hard. Lent on the right rear, asked for more than it could give. And the back end almost snaps around. Alan Berteau gets a bit checked up off of turn 2. And here comes that move from Brophy. He's not clear. The spotter will be in his ear telling him that as well. Lap after lap after lap, the frustration surely builds once more. Fortunately, we will not see the caution fly once again. Carlos Ruiz has just had a little bit of a half spin, slammed hard into the inside wall as well. And as Matt Taylor rejoins the track, this one, fortunately, does not trigger the caution. So 2 retirements, I would assume, now that Carlos Ruiz has brought his car down to pit lane. And within 30 laps left to run. We'll keep an eye on this fight for 6th position right now because it's shaping up to be quite fun. I thought we might be 3 wide. Into turn 1, who gives up first? No one wants to lift off the throttle, but it's Brophy with too little speed down low. This must be a really fun fight right now. I'm sure all these drivers thinking, let's keep it clean. Jason Brophy thinking, just let me through, please. Up front, it's starting to close down once more, by the way. We're not ignoring your lead fight. We're more just recognizing, as it sits right now, Rob Malechka holding off Phil Krause very well. I think Alan Berteau might now have a problem because Jason Brophy's been able to jump up high, although Berteau's able to block off that momentum. Once again, though, Brophy a little bit more alongside this time by. Here we go. That move's going to get made. And Brophy might even now try and slide to the inside of Hayward into one. He has a look. Hayward gives a lot of racing room. And in fact, slightly compromised her own exit off the corner. You can see how much earlier Brophy tries to pick up the throttle, but how much more speed he gives up on the entry itself. Roll the speed through, but be careful of how close you get. Another moment a bit too close, I think, for comfort. And Berteau will retake his position. We should have some fun interviews, I think, at the end of this. Although, that would only be if we had the chance to chat to those off the podium. Berteau is going to make this move happen. Plotted and waited. Nicely done indeed. Brophy passes Hayward, slides back to 8th as the number 12. And so now, with this fight resolved for the time being, back to your leaders. Your leader at the end of lap 100 is Rob Malechka. 20 more years to go, 20 more laps to go, I should say. Can he hold on? If you can't tell by some of my slip-ups here and there today. Ooh, with a yellow flag out. And Seb Alexander's the one that's had a slip-up off of turn 2. I've been awake for maybe longer than would be recommended. Been awake longer than I would have been if I'd done a 24-hour broadcast, to be fair, as well. So there's that. Alexander. That's an interesting one. Let's watch the hands on board. He was carrying a lot of speed mid-corner there, I felt. We have seen some drivers bump it down to 4th gear, even 3rd on occasion. Alexander was in 5th and quite high in the rev range as well. Rather interesting little incident, but for a driver that, of course, is fighting for P10 in the championship with Olivia Hayward, that's suboptimal. Also interesting that we get a split call in terms of strategy here. Malechka, Sudik, Craig, Berteau, Brophy and Moore are going to stay out. But it's Phil Kraus, Olivia Hayward, Joseph Manning, and of course Seb Alexander that make their way on in. Not quite sure what I make of that one. So Kraus has got to pass, what's it, 5 cars just to get to the back of the race leader. And it's not like we've got that much time remaining in this race either. What do you think? What would you have done in Phil Kraus's shoes? Sitting second, remember, on the road. I do find this an interesting call. Lights are not off on the pace car either yet, so we do still have an additional lap now. So restart with 106. On lap 106, I should say. $15 laps? Are fresh tires really that important? Not really sure about that. anyway. Lights are finally off on the pace car. I think the one thing that we do know for sure is that we're getting closer and closer to that point of no return when a caution would end the race. I think it's maybe, what, five to go? Depending on how long it also takes to pick up the leader, that's what is going to end up dictating when this race comes to an end. So Nick Sudik, the one with the best view up front to try and push the tempo. To try and deprive Rob Malechka from yet another win on a Monday night. It's an interesting strategy gambit that's been thrown from some further back. Let's go racing for 15 more laps. Matt Taylor pulls out of the way. Remember, he's 12 laps down. It's behind your race leader where I think the intrigue's going to be. Kraus has not really made any inroads so far. Here we go. Almost forces Nathan Moore into conceding there. Meanwhile, Jason Brophy back against Alan Berteau. Similar sort of results to what we've seen so far today. Back across the line, it's a half a second lead for Rob Malechka. I'm not sure if that was the right call to come down to pit lane. At least, though, it made it interesting for a bit. Brophy still unable to find a way past. All as your race leader now 7 tenths clear. Teammates side by side. Phil Kraus, remember, able to escape the incident with Matt Taylor that saw Jason Brophy get collected. And he'll make the move forward to 5th. Brophy thought about trying his own little slide job there. There comes the speed from Kraus. Unable to really make it work initially. There's the tires, though. That confidence to send it deep into the corner. So next up, Rashad Craig. Then a 1 second buffer up to Nick Sudik. Then 1 more second to your race leader. 3rd and 4th almost come to blows. Kraus looking pretty hungry to try and find a way past sooner rather than later. Even if that means a little bit of a hip check, maybe. Not sure if that was Craig opening up the steering to avoid contact, or if there was the slightest bit of air. Olivia Hayward is going to make her way past Nathan Moore only momentarily. And so now with Phil Kraus 2nd place in targets, it's a 2-second advantage your race leader holds. As easy as you'd like, Phil Kraus charges forward into 2nd spot. 8 laps to go, becomes 7 at the line. Rob Malechka looking comfortable right now, you'd have to say. Black and red machine looking like the clean air really was important on that restart. And just forcing Kraus over those couple of initial laps to be forced to fight to get back to where he was. Not necessarily sure, again, the call was something that Kraus will tell us in his interview that he would do again. So as 1st and 2nd somewhat settled, is it done and dusted for 3rd? Nick Sudik, big jink down low there. Not quite sure what that's about. Not looking totally comfortable right now, though. So 2.5 seconds now between second and third. Your race leader only enjoys an 0.8 of a second advantage. And behind, three-way fight still for 7th position. Look at Seb Alexander trying to rocket around the outside. He got a big wiggle. And Hayward allowed to hold on as a result. This fight for third is not done. They're costing each other valuable time. All as there is now maybe 4 car lengths between your race leaders. Two laps to go. Is there still one surprise left to be had? He thought about it. He's going for it. He gets that opportunity. He will make the move. Alan Berteau and Jason Brophy are resuming their hostilities once again. Brophy's lost a whole bunch of momentum. So with the white flag in hand, here at the very flat Milwaukee Mile, can Malechka hold on with the old tires? Kraus within a quarter of a second. A big send into turn 4. The rear end steps out, but in a battle all the way to the checkered, Rob Malechka comes out on top at America's legendary oval to close off 2024 Season 3. Second place should surely be enough for Phil Kraus to solidify himself as back-to-back champions on Monday Night IndyCar action. And then Nick Sudik holds off the rest of those behind in the fight for the final step on the podium. No donuts in celebration, it would seem. Just a pirouette from Rob Malechka. Phil Kraus joins him as well. Wrecked race cars at the very end of the day. Oh. We're getting a baby IndyCar in 9 months, aren't we? Oh, look at that. Nails the landing as well, does Phil Kraus. Their fun's not over. I'm sure they'll continue celebrating this one for a little bit. While they do, we'll go grab a look at the race results. Less than 2/10 splits the two of them at the line, with Phil Kraus just missing out on the race victory. Rob Malechka holding on in the dying stages. Nick Sudik holding on to third as well in the All-American iRacers number 4, with Rashad Craig a very valuable result in his quest to try and grab third in the championship. Alan Berteau frustrates Jason Brophy all the way to the very end of the race, with Olivia Hayward, Seb Alexander, Nathan Moore and Joseph Manning all scored on the lead lap. David Henger 1 lap down, Matt Taylor 12 laps down, although does see the finish, while Carlos Ruiz and Facundo Arduzo are 2 retirements on the day. Fastest lap of the race did go the way of Phil Kraus on lap 116 as well. So something to keep in mind, those fresh tires really did help him push all the way to the end. I can tell you that they haven't quite stopped wrecking yet. Rob Malechka and Phil Kraus, they're slowly making their way down to pit lane, where they've managed to crash once again. But Rob Malechka joins us in the broadcast booth now. Rob, talk to us about that race. Seemed like an interesting one where strategy on more than one occasion seemed quite open.
Yeah. Sorry, I was a bit distracted. Yeah, it was fun. They are so loud, sorry. Okay, there we go. Kind of feels out here yapping, jeez. Yeah, kind of a straightforward race. We know we have a pretty good setup around here, and just kind of let Phil get a 2-second gap, or honestly a bit more than that, and so I could get as much cleaner as possible. And yeah, just rode around there in map 5 for most of the race until we were full push at the end, and Phil decided to take tires on that one stop. Well, I think most of us took fuel only, and that was the difference. So, good win.
And he came back in at the end to try and put tires on again. Were you a little bit worried when you saw that? Did you think there was a chance he'd be that close at the very end?
Hell no! I thought he screwed up. He had no shot in my mind, and then he was running like 3-4 tenths faster than me. I'm like, huh, this is going to get it really interesting. And then those last 3 laps, I was just plowing. I had no turn whatsoever. My car looked like Verstappen's. And Phil was ripping the bottom because there's not much rubber down there. And yeah, I fully expected him to just plow into me since we had such a big lead. But that would have been good content. But I guess I'm kind of glad he didn't. And yeah.
Well, been a fun season, all things considered, Rob. We'll see you next season for another round of Monday Night IndyCar fun.
Bye, Arjuna.
By Rob Malechka. Hello to Phil Krause, who joins us now. Phil, seemed like a fun race. Talk to us about your strategy calls, though, because on multiple occasions, you chose to take tires when not everyone else did.
The main strategy call that Rob and I were having that race was what players to pick for our fantasy football teams, to be honest, Arjuna. But yeah, I just threw some tires on for the fun of it, to be honest. It's like, obviously this is a different group to usual at Milwaukee, so I just wanted to throw tires on, have a little fun, car through the field a little bit, and see what happened.
Yeah, talk to us about that high line, because I know that in the Fixed Championship a couple of weeks ago, you guys were running that high line again. Was that something you expected here in the Open as well? Jason was one of the few drivers actually trying to go low.
When I first saw that we were running the top and fixed, I thought it might have been a setup thing. I never drove it, but after people talked about it after the second race, it was pretty clear there was some change to the track that made the top preferred, but it was definitely interesting to adapt to that for sure.
And one last question, Phil, before we let you go. One final round of the IndyCar Butt Kicker Pro Series qualifying series. Had to make sure I got the ordering of the words correct there. How are you feeling, of course? Points-wise, sitting relatively well, and September the 19th is not far away, is it?
I mean, as long as I don't crash the car at Mid-Ohio, I think I'm pretty safe to make it. But yeah, obviously, mostly eyes forwards to September. We're hoping to get Brian and Jason and Jeff in the series as well, but it's going to be tough for Brian. Jeff's pretty close, and I think Jason should make it, but it'd be really cool to have like 5 cars, I want to say, from Powerslide in the series.
I'll see what happens at Mid-Ohio this Thursday. Best of luck, Phil, and looking forward to another season of Monday Night IndyCars, maybe. Back-to-back championships for you.
Yep, cheers, Arjuna.
So our defending champion leaves the broadcast booth with a champion-elect crown on his head as well. We'll find out at the end of the week if it stays like that. Nick Sudik joins us as well. Nick, seemed like an interesting race from your perspective. Talk us through it.
Yeah, kind of smooth going. Had a really strong qualifying. You know, contextually, it kind of messed up out of 3 and kept that safe off of 4. But you know, kind of the odd man out in the field there, the best of the rest, if you will. You know, Powerslide, they always have a strong package. No matter what track, oval, road course. You know, so props to Phil, Rob, Jason coming back from what looked like it was going to be catastrophic for him too. But yeah, I thought I was going to be able to hang on, and then the least amount of contact I think I had all race with the wall actually punctured my right side pod. So I kind of let Phil through because I knew he had me on pace. And I was defending for my life for 3rd, and here I am, yet another podium. Probably the best season I've had in Open, and I think this is only the 2nd full season I've done running Open. So yeah, I feel great. It's a fantastic feeling here.
And how was Milwaukee? Of course, we'll see a doubleheader this weekend in the real world. You looking forward to watching it in the real life as well?
Yeah, I was hoping to make it out this year. I couldn't quite swing it, unfortunately. Work duties and a little financial woes here and there. Nothing too bad, but just couldn't swing the trip. But you know, next year, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what they put on now. See if I go back next year. Short ovals seem to be good. I'm really looking forward to what IndyCar can bring going forward. Milwaukee is always a legacy staple here, and yeah, I can't wait. And I can't wait for see some of my friends and acquaintances in the Pro Series coming up as well that you alluded to. So good luck to them. We just quite couldn't make it. But, oh yeah, before I go, Arjuna, hi Mom, hi Dad, hi Maria. Thank you for tuning in. I didn't get to say it last time. And All-American iRacers, we're on the way up, baby. Let's go.
Remembering to shout out the family this time around. Nick Sudik finishes off the season with a 3rd place finish. And let's look forward to 2024 Season 4, because a blockbuster campaign awaits. It's a leap year in iRacing. What does that mean? Well, one of our 4 seasons gets an extra week. 13 weeks of iRacing IndyCar competition. And look at that schedule. Of course, Nashville Superspeedway to open up the season. But then we're sort of released from the shackles of linking up with the NTT IndyCar Series, and we can have some fun. I'm looking forward to the likes of Road Atlanta, to the Nürburgring, of course, as well. Multiple trips, of course, to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, both the Grand Prix and the Oval. And we close out with the special Week 13 at the Suzuka International Racing Course. What a season it will be, hoping that we'll have plenty more to come as well of Monday night IndyCar action on RaceSpotTV. Not quite sure the exact final plans, but we've always enjoyed these Monday night broadcasts since we started doing them almost 3-4 years ago. Well, another season in the books, and what a season it was. Phil Kraus provisionally your champion. There might still be some things to change around in the next week or so. But as we leave America's legendary oval, it's another 13 weeks of Monday Night IndyCar these drivers have in their minds. On behalf, though, of our entire team at RaceSpot that has brought you the coverage this season, Ramiro Cisneros and Dustin Ollis, Arjuna Kankipati, your production team, and then, of course, the various commentators that join myself as well. We always enjoy it. We hope to do it again soon. But for now, it's so long and goodbye. What a way to close out the season here at the Milwaukee Mile.